Hi there, that's right, Nick Dash back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how things are going? Yes, I know I am doing this on a slightly more low resolution camera, and the audio quality might be a bit dodgy, but apart from that, please just bear with me for the moment, because I've got a lot of footage I want to get done. I've got lots of things to put up on my other channels. I still need to be able to work for a living, as well as doing lots of other little projects. So yes, this is a little raw and a little, little quick and easy. Before I go on to the body of this particular section in the Entering the New Age Movement series, I have been given a question, that is, what is the difference between occult study and the New Age Movement? I think the two go hand in hand together. However, one would normally infer that the New Age Movement would have a much more therapeutic development to it. Occult study is much more to do with trying to have strange experiences to see whether you can communicate with ghosts, or do a Ouija board seance or something along those lines. That's what it's much more orientated towards, your ceremonial magic side of things, which is more religion as well, rather than necessarily using those things from religion, theology, and occultism to be able to do someone some good. Okay, that's my sort of like take on the issue. But just kind of like not only reiterating what I've spoken about previously or alluded to, but also just trying to elaborate upon that a bit more. I think what people need to remember is the importance of a goal setting when they're moving into some aspects of the New Age world. I mean, I got myself involved on a face-to-face level with, paganism, witchcraft groups, and all the rest of that, because I had jumped to a conclusion, and I wanted to see whether that conclusion had some reality to it. And if it didn't, then I'd taken the attitude that I'd have gained an awful lot of knowledge and perspective, and done an awful lot of life learning on the way, which probably will do me some good long term. Now, did goal A sort of like manifest itself? Basically, no, it did not. And it did not because I was basically missold a lot of things associated with the New Age movement, and especially to do with like the therapeutic and the healing aspects of the New Age movement itself. This is to do with the fact that lots of people within both the occult stroke, pagan stroke, and New Age worlds don't necessarily have a very good vocabulary, and therefore, they try and communicate their ideas using words, using books, using anything like medium like we're using at the moment, video, and not being able to express themselves all that well. So my preconceptions were based upon my experiences, my own personal strange experiences, and just trying to think more about what it was that these people were saying, and the beliefs and values that these people were saying or communicating through their language. So, did goal letter B actually manifest itself, namely gaining more life learning, more knowledge about people, more knowledge about the world, which I could then take forward in my personal experience? Basically, yes. So essentially, was my foray into witchcraft groups, pagan groups, and all the rest of that actually totally fruitless? Basically, no, it was not. Was I able to use some of the social wisdom I've managed to gain as a result of being a part of these particular groups in the world of work? Yes, indeed, both in like the business information companies I was involved in solar energy companies I was involved in, and all the rest of that, because I got a good feeling for people and some of the things which drive them, predominantly through, just listening and paying attention to what people were sharing in the various different groups and meetings, the various impacts and influences which have been happening in their lives, which may have actually served to create a particular perspective or indeed behavioral pattern. And so, through introspective reasoning, I did do an awful lot of life learning. So that was okay. But did I actually get the results that I was after? No, I did not. Is that a problem? I think it is for a lot of people, which is why the New Age world becomes bifurcated, so to speak. You get lots of people who believe in some of the stories or lies or bad language, or bad use of language, I should say. Okay, and they become the devotees who are still using all of the imagery on their websites, all the fashion, all of the language, all those little cute little phrases and catchphrases and so on and so forth. They're still into the same popular media because they're all in the subculture together. Okay, you got that lot, and then you got the other lot who've moved away and have decided that it is basically all a load of rubbish. With this second crowd, this it is all a load of rubbish crowd, what they haven't done is to look closely at the benefits of what they actually got from their time of looking into the New Age world, try and work out what is correct, what is incorrect, what they can use, what they can't use, and then to try and get some kind of like progression from that. Now, if you yourself are looking into some particular sources to try and get some particular results, and you're not getting those results, be careful. Because the thing with us humans is we like to try and believe that we're going to get the thing that we are, the thing that we are sold is going to come our way. Okay? We like to try and aspire to try and get the same thing which other people claim that they're getting. Okay, and we can try and maintain that belief despite the fact that all of the experiences we're getting is actually suggesting something to the contrary. Namely, the original source could actually have been quite dramatically wrong. Alright, we can get obsessed. Especially when we're talking about subjects which can be of a religious nature, of a spiritual nature, of something along, the more eccentric lines, shall we say, or indeed those which are connected to or heavily connected to a particular goal that we want to try and bring about in our own lives. Okay, a very heartfelt want, so to speak. It is, in fact, much harder to be able to turn around to oneself and to be able to say, basically, that goal probably will not happen. Alright, whether that was a goal which has been accumulated as a result of you listening to someone who was a very eloquent speaker on a particular subject, okay, such as, let's say, the control of spirits, for instance, or using sigils to try and, change the world, or whether this was a conclusion which you arose at as a result of your own reasoning, not taking into account that you weren't using the right reasoning tools to be able to work out what is real and basically what is not. And there are people of all educational levels, and I mean all educational levels, as well as all levels of career and finance, class, race, and all the rest of it, who make serious intellectual blunders. This is why it is important to be self-critical. It's important to be skeptical and to look closely at what you are thinking and to be able to criticize your own, your own way of thinking, so that you don't sort of like think yourself under the table, so to speak. It is easy to think yourself under the table and get yourself into a bit of a mire as a result of that. I've known people who are like that. I told a story a while ago, way back in my early YouTube career, about this one individual I had the misfortune to know, and because of the Atlantean themed books that he read, he believed that science fiction was in fact past lives from other planets being remembered, and everything in science fiction was in fact true. I mean, because he read so many of these particular, Atlantean books, he really developed this attitude, because, all the evidence seemed to be there, just like someone who's always watching Alex Jones videos and thinks that all the evidence is there, that there really is an Illuminati agent around the corner who's going to shove them in a FEMA camp and kill them within the next 24 hours or whatever, because, it always seems like all the information's there, it's all there, it must be true, must be, and that's the same kind of fear and paranoia, the same kind of psychological pattern that he went through, because he only looked at these sources of information, these particular ideas, and was not sufficiently critical. So he picked up one particular book which had, it was a very bad fantasy story about someone who believed that they could teleport through visualizing their body disintegrating into lots of little pieces and then coming back together again. And this particular friend of mine wanted to travel in time and space to another location and another era, and thought it would really happen. And when I asked him, when it didn't happen, were you surprised? And he says, well, yes. And that was one of those moments in which I realized I didn't really want him as my friend anymore, if you get my drift, because his basis of reasoning was so far off whack, okay, that it was dangerous and laughable. But that's an extreme example, yes, But there's lots of other little ways in which our reasoning can go off whack and we can make mistakes. I mean, I've had plenty of issues in my normal life, which is, you know, of a similar vein. And we're like this because we're human. It's not because we're sick or we're bad or we're evil. It's because we're human. But because we are human, we need to, instead of embracing the intellectual ability to make serious mistakes, we need to embrace the ability to be able to get out of these mistakes, okay, and to take proper responsibility over our thinking and over our reasoning, especially when we're dealing with anything of like a religious, New Age, and occult nature, because of the nature of the ideas. Alright? So work out what your goals are, what it is you want to achieve. If you don't get goal A, then try and look out for goal B, and work out in what ways you are being adjusted by the ideas within the New Age world, and in what ways you are able to obtain some of your goals, and in what goals you won't be able to obtain because essentially you are missold certain forms of information. Look after yourself, don't go crazy, keep rational, transdeism is cool. I'll speak to you again soon.